On my way home from work, I stopped by the post office and, as usual, my inbox was full of junk mail and bills. I leafed through them and threw most of them into the trash can next to the table. Between the visa application and the invoice from Conoco was an envelope written in a flowing handwriting that I knew all too well. I received one letter a month for over a year. She guessed that mail was being forwarded to me from the old address, so she wrote and sent letters there to be forwarded to me. I met Pat at a wedding reception. The guy I worked with got married and the entire office was invited to the wedding. After the wedding, everyone went to the reception. I had been there for about an hour when this tall blonde came in. She got everyone's attention and definitely got mine, but she wasn't alone, so I put her out of my mind. Well, not exactly throwing it away. The hall was small, so she was in sight almost all the time. Maybe another hour passed, and I noticed that she seemed to be getting more and more upset with her companion. Right after the bride and groom cut the cake, I got up to go to the bathroom. On the way, I had to pass by a table where a blonde was sitting. As soon as I approached the table, I heard her say, "Bastard." No matter how quietly she said it, it sounded like it was directed at me, so I turned to her. "I'm sorry?" She blushed and said, "This is not for you, but for this worthless piece, my gentleman. All he does is drink. I've been trying to get him on the dance floor since we arrived, but all he did was drink, and now that lump has left me. I probably deserved it, though. That's what I get for going on a blind date." Relieved that she didn't think I was a bastard, I went to the bathroom and then returned to the table I shared with several colleagues. The next time the orchestra started playing, I looked at her and saw that she was watching the dancers and tapping her feet. On a whim, I stood up, walked up to her, and asked her to dance. She said yes, and that was the start of a whirlwind romance that led to us getting married 3 months later. Patricia Ann was a computer genius and worked for a large corporation as a systems administrator. She tried to explain to me what she was doing, but I am computer illiterate, so it all went into one ear. I know how to turn on my computer and how to access the internet, but this is the limit of my computer savvy. I make my living as a heavy equipment mechanic, and I'm pretty good at it. So soon the two of us had saved enough to put a down payment on a house. We had a wonderful marriage, or so I thought. I was madly in love with her, and she, of course, felt the same about me. But in the 6th year of our marriage, something changed. When it started, I could not determine with any degree of certainty, and it may have gone on for quite some time before I noticed. Patty always left work with the girls one night a week and was usually home by 9. I didn't notice how the time increased to 9:30, then to 10, then to 10:30, and only later did I remember those evenings. Patty started working late a couple of times a week, usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She attributed this to an unexpectedly large contract with critical deadlines. They were not equipped for such a large order, and until management made some decisions about which way to go, everyone was asked to work overtime to get the order. Solutions? I asked it, what kind of solutions? They want to make sure the contract is long-term before they invest in more equipment and hire more people. And how long will this last? Maybe a couple of months. I do not know exactly. The couple of months stretched to 8 before I started complaining about it, to which she always calmly responded, "It shouldn't be that long, baby." I know you don't like it, and neither do I. I don't like carrying boxes across the platform, but I promised to help. And then one Wednesday night she called me and said that she would have to work late. Anne was supposed to work this evening, but she had an accident and is now in the hospital, so I will have to replace her. The next morning at breakfast, I asked, "What about Anne?" Patty looked at me, confused, and then said, "Anne? Oh yes, Anne." Not good. They hold her at stretch. Both legs and one hip are broken, and she plans to take time off work. The poor thing is damn unlucky. She went on vacation with her boyfriend, and before it was over, he told her he had found someone else. On the way home, the airline lost luggage, and now this accident. "So now you will work overtime on Wednesdays too?" "Yes, and maybe even 1 or 2 Fridays. That's about when I started wondering about a few things. Up until this point, her overtime was annoying, and that's all I thought. Just a stupid bunch of incompetent managers who couldn't get their heads out of their ass and fix the problem. It all started with the look of confusion on her face when I asked about Anne. It was as if she had lied, forgotten about it, and then had to rush and cover it up. And if so, is she lying about having to work late? It was then that I remembered the Wednesday night spent with the girls from work and how they began to end later and later. Wonder what a computer guy does when moving boxes on a loading dock. That Sunday, it all came together for me. I was doing routine maintenance on Patty's car. I changed the oil, added windshield washer fluid, and then decided to change the tire. When I opened the trunk to remove the spare tire, I found 2 suitcases. Curious, I opened one and found it full of clothes. The other was full of sexy lingerie, high heels, and the like. Heels and lingerie like I've never seen before. I don't know who Patty wore them for, but it certainly wasn't for me. So much for Patty working overtime. There could only be one reason for multiple outfit changes and all that sexy stuff in her trunk, and it definitely didn't have to do with work. Sometimes I'm slow on the uptake, but I try not to be a fool. I analyze problems, turn them over in my head, look at them from all sides, and consider all the options before making a decision. I finished bolting the tire, closed the trunk, and went home, deciding to find out more before doing anything. Since it was the holiday season and things were getting pretty busy, I put off stalking Pat until later in the year. However, I didn't have to wait long. Patty's Christmas party was scheduled for Wednesday, and she was looking forward to it. At the last minute, I had a job that prevented me from going with her. She was upset. No, she wasn't. She was furious, and really snapped at me. And I was no better, shouting back at her, "Now you know how I feel when you work overtime." I said I'd try to finish in time to at least show up, but that didn't seem to calm her down at all. On the day of the party, I worked as hard as I could to try and make it in time. The party started at 7, and with my best efforts, I was able to finish work, get home, shower, change, and arrive by 9. I walked in and saw Patty hotly hugging and French kissing some guy, while people were stomping their feet, pounding their fists on tables and yelling, "Get a room, you two!" and "Take your novel to the motel." I turned and left, and no one even noticed I was there. On the way home, I tried to figure out the reasons that could force her to go in search of a man, but I didn't understand anything. For God's sake, I treated her like a queen. I did everything I could for her. I helped around the house. I cooked at least 3 times a week and cleaned up after myself. In the evening, while waiting for her to return home, I washed a bunch of laundry. I cleaned my den, and the downstairs bathroom next to my den. All this is in addition to caring for your home, yard, and both cars. I have never forgotten a birthday or an anniversary. I remembered the day we met, and every year on that day I gave her a card, the same on the anniversary of the day I proposed to her. I never even looked at other women. I did everything I could to be the best husband she could hope for. So what went wrong? The only thing I could think about was the 20 pounds I had gained over the past 5 years. Was this the reason? Was I no longer physically attractive to her? However, it didn't matter. What I saw meant one thing. We had screwed up our marriage. I loved her a lot, but not enough to make me want to share her, and not enough to make me fight for her. So what if I win it from this guy? Can I win it from the next guy, and the one behind him? No, as much as it pains me to admit it, Patty and I are breaking up. But I decided on one thing. 20 pounds must go. I'll be fit when I start dating women again. I also decided not to get a divorce. I'm never getting married again. And Patty and I get along great while she plays with her lover, so I'll keep the status quo and save myself the hassle and expense of a divorce. All I have to do is pretend that I don't know anything about her lover. That evening, when she returned home, she was in a great mood and wanted to make love. It would have been unnatural for me to refuse her. And besides, I was curious to know if I could be said to be getting scraps of sex. Surprisingly, she felt the same as on any of the hundreds of other nights we'd had sex. But damn, it all told me that I'd been the other man long enough. Although I wondered if she was trying to fuck me to death out of guilt. or if she was getting a kick out of giving away scraps from her lover. On Monday, I went to the gym, sat down with a personal trainer, and he put together a program for me. I went to the gym on the way to work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and after a month, I started running on the weekends, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and only rested on Sunday. My relationship with Patty remained unchanged. She still acted as if I was the one and only, and I never showed that I knew too much. She still worked late, at least 2 nights a week, and I stopped whining about it. In 2 months, I had lost 18 pounds, gained some strength, and felt pretty good. Marla and Sally, 2 girls who worked with me in the office, both commented on the change, and Sally asked me what caused it. I told her I was trying to get in shape so I could be more attractive to women. About? And what does Patty have to say about this? We have mutual understanding. Ooh, open marriage? Yes. Well, Stallion, I'm ready if you're ready. This took me by surprise. I always flirted with Sally and Marla, and they flirted back. I never expected it to be anything other than flirting, but judging by Sally's voice, she was serious. What the hell, I said to myself. Go ahead, Jerry. Knowing that Patty would be working on Thursday, I said to Sally, Are you busy on Thursday? Now probably yes. What do you mean? Choose yourself. Okay. I'll think of something when you pick me up. Casual dress. I'll be there at 6:30, okay? Marla, standing and listening, suddenly jumped up and said, I have seniority here. And Sally laughed. You overslept and lost your lead. Now wait your turn. I came to Sally at 7:30, and she appeared at the door in a dressing gown. Am I too early? No. I'm already dressed for our date. And she opened her robe. She was naked except for stockings, high heels, and a garter belt. I think we'll eat dessert first, then have dinner, and then decide what to do. We didn't end up having dinner that night, and I was a very sexually satisfied man. Sally walked me to the door, kissed me passionately, and asked when we could meet again. I can on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm ready on Tuesday and Thursday. On the way home, I stopped by work, showered in the locker room, changed into work clothes, and then went down to Bill's bar for a beer so I wouldn't be out of breath before heading home. When I returned home, Patty was still awake. Where have you been? Knowing that you wouldn't be at home, I decided to go see the guys after work and play billiards. I hope you didn't drink too much because I'm horny and I want you. It was not easy for me to fulfill her request, but still I managed to do it. It took me a while to get my mind off the drinking. We'll have to keep an eye on this in the future. I had completely forgotten that Patty always comes home horny when she works late, and I have to make sure I save some energy for her. For the next 6 weeks, Sally and I had sex hot and heavy, and then one evening she said to me, Now it's Marla's turn, Jerry. What's happened? This is our last time. I want Marla to replace me. I don't have the right to vote. Yes and no. You have a say in whether you want Marla, but this is definitely the last time you and I will be together. You're a married man, Jerry, and I can't let myself get too deeply into you. There is no prospect for me here, so I will release you. Be a good guy, we'll stay friends, and I won't have to quit my job, okay? Do you think Marla really wants to? I know that she is breathing unevenly towards you, dear. All you have to do is invite. Or maybe this won't be necessary. She knows we are stopping and can turn herself in. This is exactly what happened. On Friday, Marla came up to me and said, I heard that you now have Tuesday and Thursday free. Can I take them? My first night with Marla was almost a repeat of my first night with Sally, in that we didn't leave her apartment at all. My affair with Marla lasted 5 weeks, and then she broke it off for the same reason as Sally. I'm too deep into you, Jerry, and that's not good with a married man. They both said that if I were alone, we could live together. They were both fun girls and both great in bed, but getting a divorce to be with either of them? Not serious. They both had an affair with a married man. Why do I need girls like this? I already had one like this at home. Over the next 8 months, I dated and slept with 9 different women. None of the novels lasted longer than a month, most only 2 or 3 weeks, but I myself did not want anything long. My home situation has not changed. Patty still worked late, a couple of times a week, almost always on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so those were the meeting nights. I have no idea how much longer things would have gone on as they did if not for a strange coincidence. It was Wednesday, and I was at the gym. I had just finished my workout and was in the shower when the man who had been with Patty at the Christmas party came in with 2 other guys and started changing into his workout clothes. I turned off the water, dried myself with a towel, and listened to the conversation of the 3 men. It looks like the guys have switched from evening to morning. There was some work-related conversation that led me to believe they worked for the same company, although not necessarily in the same office, and then one of them said, "How are you getting on with that fox you were at the Christmas party with? Still have it? I tell you all the time that I don't even try to get into her pants. We're just good friends." "Yes, sure. I would also like to be friends with her. Hell, I'd love to be friends with her." "Forget it. She is so attached to her husband that you would think he is golden." "Come on, Mike, I saw you hugging and kissing. Like brother and sister, good friends, hugging and kissing. Honestly, she's so obsessed with her husband that no other man stands a chance." "Bullshit, Mike. I saw you both at the Christmas party, and that kiss you shared was not a brotherly kiss." "True, but that doesn't mean anything. Her husband promised her that he would come, but he never showed up. She was furious, and also drunk. When she finally accepted that her husband wasn't going to show up, she grabbed me and said, 'Damn it, it's a holiday party, and someone is going to kiss me under the mistletoe, and if it isn't Jerry, it's going to be you.' This was the only time. I find it hard to believe. Do you want to know how obsessed she is with her husband? You know, all that shipping and receiving overtime that everyone tries to avoid? She works every minute to buy him a boat for his birthday to play bass. Most of what we do with her is her asking me about engine sizes, fish finders, and anything else she plans to outfit the boat with. I just hope the guy realizes what ugem he found in her. Let's hurry up. I only have a playground until 7. After they left, I sat on the wooden bench in front of the lockers and stared at the wall. My God, what have I done? I completely misinterpreted what was happening and then let myself get worked up. I was doing what I wrongly believed Patty was doing. I was cheating. I went behind the back of the woman who loved me. And I cheated, more than once, and with many women. The only saving factor was that I didn't reproach Patty. "You're cheating, so I'll cheat twice as much." Patty didn't know that I had cheated, and that I obviously wasn't going to do it again. I will do everything in my power to make it up to her, although she will never know about it. But nothing came of it. I just wasn't the kind of guy who would cheat and then go through life pretending everything was fine. I could behave this way as long as I thought that we were both cheating. But as soon as I found out that she was faithful to me, it hit me hard. I couldn't bring myself to look her in the eyes. I couldn't even bring myself to make love to her, because a cheater's touch on her would defile her. I really ruined my marriage and ruined my life. It was very stupid. All I had to do at the time was just come up and say, "Here's what's going on, and here's why I think this," and we could talk it out. After the overheard conversation in the locker room, I had no doubt that there was a reasonable explanation for the suitcases in her trunk, but I never gave her a chance to explain. I was completely screwed. I couldn't look her in the face. I didn't have the courage to sit down and tell her what I did and why. I was a coward, and I did what cowards do. I ran away. I went to my boss and told him I caught my wife cheating, and I was going to move on. I like the company, and I like the work I do, and if you have a vacancy somewhere else, I would like to go there. If not, then I'll probably have to apply. He picked up the phone, called, and then I was on my way to Colorado. I told him that my wife would probably be looking for me to cause trouble for me, and I asked him to tell her that I left without warning and that he had no idea where I went. The next day, while Patty was at work, I loaded all my stuff into the pickup truck. At the last minute, I wrote a simple note, "I'm so sorry," and placed it on the kitchen table. For her, of course, it was disgusting, but over time she would get over it. She deserved better than me. She will be able to get a divorce as abandoned and move on with her life. This happened 14 months ago, and in those 14 months not a day went by that I didn't think about Patty and what we had and what I so stupidly ruined. Fortunately, I had a lot of work. Work occupied my thoughts and hands for 10 to 12 hours a day, but the nights were killing me, and waking up in the morning alone was murderous. When I first started my new job, I decided to go to the bar after work and drown my sorrows, but that quickly passed. Going to work every morning with a hangover was not a good idea, and the beer ruined everything that the gym and running had done for me. So I got in the van, found a local gym, and started getting in shape. After being there for 6 months, I noticed several women who seemed to be interested in me, but I did not take the initiative. My head was still full of thoughts about Patty, and I didn't know if the day would ever come when I could think about another woman. I opened my Conoco statement and saw that I had overpaid and received a credit, so I tore it up and threw it in the trash. I didn't open the Visa application. I knew damn well I had no credit on this account and wouldn't be making a payment until my next paycheck, so I put it in my pocket. I picked up the letter from Patty and stared at it. I brought it to my nose and imagined that I could smell her, and then I threw it in the trash. "And that's all?" A voice came from behind me. "You don't even open the letters, you just throw them away?" I turned around and saw Patty. "Hello, Jerry. Long time no see." I just stared at her. I couldn't even run away because she was between me and the door. "Who bit your tongue?" However, there is nothing to be surprised about. You've always been a man of few words. I got 2 words when you left, and I don't even know what you regret. I've been thinking all last year. I will never understand why. You wasted an extra word. You could do it with just 1 word. Goodbye. Come on, Jerry, say something. How did you find me? I will not say. If you run away again, I may have to use the same method again. I'm not going to give you another opportunity to cover your tracks. The point is, I'm here and I won't leave until I know everything. Not here. Let's go to my house. So what, in the name of all that is holy, makes you think I'm cheating on you? You had many of the classic signs of your wife cheating on you, and suddenly you are working late, although you have never done this before. Increased sexual activity with your husband because you either felt guilty or your lover was turning you on by the time it was time to go home, so your husband had to put out the fire. Or maybe because it turned you on to give your husband your lover's scraps. Evenings where you stayed for drinks with your colleagues who kept you later and later. Then I found suitcases in your trunk full of sexy clothes that you never wore for me. All this combined with me walking into a Christmas party and seeing you tongue wrestling with a guy, while all your co-workers were yelling at you to get a room and go to a motel. They wouldn't say that if they weren't sure that you were lovers. It all boiled down to his wife's betrayal. You poor stupid fool. Why didn't you talk to me? The suitcases belonged to Anne. I told you the airline lost her luggage. They found it, but by then Anne was already stretched out in the hospital and asked me to pick up the luggage. And overtime was real. All you had to do was look at my receipts. You're right about the increase in sex being driven by guilt, but it was guilt for leaving you alone so often. I knew it bothered you, and I tried to make amends. As for Christmas, it meant nothing. I drank too much. I was mad at you for not being there to give me a Christmas kiss under the mistletoe, so I grabbed Mike. Yes, it was unnecessary, but if you had stayed, you would have seen us break up and go to different tables, and he didn't even dance with me the entire evening. God, Jerry, I can't believe you just left me like that and didn't even try to explain. That's not why I left you. I left because of myself, because of what I did in response. And what did you do? I took a deep breath and told her about Sally and Marla and everyone else, and how I was able to save my marriage because my cheating kept me on par with her cheating. And then, when I found out that you weren't cheating, my life just fell apart. I couldn't look you in the eyes knowing what I did to you, and I realized you deserved better than a cheating asshole, so I left. She sat and looked at me, trying to comprehend my words, and then said, How did you know that I'm not really cheating? I told her about the conversation I overheard in the gym. Her face turned a little pale and she said, "My God, what the hell?" She kept looking at me and shaking her head. Let's see if I understood correctly. You thought I was cheating, so you cheated so we could be even, right? I said yes, and she continued, "So, as long as we were even, you believed that we could continue to live together and that everything would be fine. Everything would be fine, right?" I nodded. "Only when you were convinced that I wasn't cheating did everything go to hell, right?" I said again, "Yes." "So if you had never heard that conversation in the gym, we would still be living together. Would you still play with your girls while staying with me?" "Maybe." She looked at me for another minute and then asked, "Did you love me?" "Yes, I loved it. And I still love it. The only reason I stayed with you, thinking you were cheating, was because I loved you so much that I couldn't leave you. You know that I love you, right?" My visit should show this. I was devastated when you left and didn't know what led up to it. I need you in my life, Jerry. I need you to come home with me or I'll move here to be with you. But either way with you, Jerry. With you, please. I can't, Patty. After all this, I just can't. Being with you is a constant reminder of what a cheater I have been. I just can't look you in the eyes every day, knowing what I did. But would you be able to do this if I cheated on you? While we were even, you could look me in the eye, right? I nodded. Then come home, Jerry, because we're even. I cheated on you. You were right. You just used the wrong information, but came to the right conclusions. At night, when I was working overtime, Mike and I would have sex like a couple of crazy bunnies. It started one night, just before we finished our shift. We stumbled upon each other, looked, and a sexual spark seemed to jump between us. He just grabbed me, turned me over, bent me over the shipping crate, and picked me up. And I let him. I didn't say a word, I just let him take me. After that, almost every evening, when we worked overtime, he would catch me in a dark corner or behind a pile of boxes and have. I never said no. I never agreed. I just let him take me. It was fun sex, exciting sex, deliciously illicit sex, and I loved it. I loved sex. Not Mike. It was just hot, illicit, erotic sex. I didn't even kiss him. That kiss at the Christmas party was our first and only kiss. I had a husband who loved me and who I was crazy about, and who made fantastic, passionate love to me, and I had a part-time stud who treated me like a slut, a bitch in the heat, and made me love it. And then I went and ruined everything. Have you ruined everything? How? You started acting a little strange, and I thought you suspected something. The overheard conversation was faked. This was supposed to calm you down and keep you from knowing that Mike and I screwed up. Instead, he separated us. If I hadn't tried to cheat, we would still be together. You would be with me, thinking that we are equal. You mean you'll still have sex with Mike? No, Jerry, this is bitter irony. That fake conversation that turned you away from me also ended Mike and I's relationship. That evening when we were working overtime, he brought with him the two guys he had a conversation with and told me that everything was played out as it should, and now the three of them were going to fuck me. So I left him. Since that night, all I've done is work and try to find you. I need you, Jerry. I'm not a person without you. Please, honey, can we leave the past behind and start over? We are acting like children. Can we please start over? I stared at her, my thoughts racing 100 miles an hour. I loved her to death and missed her so much that not a day went by that I didn't think about and want to be with her. But can I go through this again? She must have read my mind. It will never happen again, Jerry. I can promise you that. The last 14 months have been absolute hell, Jerry. The most miserable of my life. Life without you is killing me, and I will never do anything that would make me go through this hell again. Please, Jerry, I'm begging you. Come back to me. At home or here. Just let me be with you. There was really no question about what to do. I ran away from her only because I considered myself unworthy. I loved her very much, and if she wanted me back, knowing everything about me, I would be a fool if I refused. As for her cheating, I had already come to terms with it when I started playing the stay equal game. Could we? We have to. She loved me enough to lie to me, portraying herself as the slut she never was. She never had an affair with Mike. She just told me about it, so that I would believe that we were even so that he would return home. How do I know? I went back to my gym and Mike walked in one morning. I don't know why, but I looked at him for a long time. And after a while he came up to me and asked, "Do I know you?" "No, but you knew my wife well enough to have an affair with her." "Hey, what are you sculpting, guy? I didn't have any affairs with married women." "Have you forgotten about your affair with Patty Bradley?" "Damn it, it didn't happen." "Why do you think I had an affair with Patty?" She admitted it herself. I told everything. He shook his head. "I would love to, but that Christmas kiss is all it ever was." "It's not that I didn't try. The conversation you overheard is true. I don't know why she wants you to think that I was her lover. All I can say is that I wanted it and I tried damn hard to make it happen, but she never even gave me a chance. Damn, I was stunned when I received that Christmas kiss. Will I ever tell Patty about my conversation with Mike? No, I'm not going to do anything that would upset the apple cart. She actually bought me this bass boat, and in some perverse moment, I named the boat and wrote the name in big gold letters on both sides. Every time Patty and I board Mike's fun, we are each reminded how fragile relationships can be and how much work it takes to keep them together. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.